Hi guys, so today I am working on my Halloween picture. So I've actually been really feeling in the mood to do Halloween pictures for like a month now, and I figured that was probably a little bit too early to do that in August, but I feel like September is acceptable to start doing Halloween pictures and to start decorating, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I think this year I'll do a few more Halloween pictures than I normally do, because usually I don't do any, and I really love them, so I'm excited about that. And for this one, I went with a pretty traditional motif, just the witch flying in front of a moon. So it's nothing too groundbreaking there, but it was something that I was excited about, and I wanted to do just this fun little Halloween illustration. So in this one, I actually ended up changing the hairstyle quite a few times, and that's pretty typical for when I'm sketching, is that there's usually that one element that I tried a few different things until I get the one that I feel is right and works the best and I like the most. And for this one, it was the hair, where I did a few things that I liked, but I wasn't quite sure that that was the one that I wanted to move forward with. And the way that I like to do that type of detail is I have most of my sketches on one layer, and when there's something that I'm a little bit in doubt with, I'll go ahead and use a lasso tool and I can cut it into a separate layer. That way I can turn that off, and then I can sketch out different options, and then I can keep the original one, because oftentimes I'll try a few different ones and then I'll be able to settle on that first one and realize, yeah, that was the one I wanted, it's the one I liked. But for this one, I ended up trying a few different ones, and I went a slightly different direction. So I think at first I started with this big giant braid, and it didn't quite have the same motion that I wanted. I wanted her to look like she was flying through the air, and there was just a lot more rhythm to it, where this big giant braid, it kind of felt a little bit more stiff than I wanted it to look. So then I think I tried more of a loose hairstyle, and that wasn't quite right. So I finally settled on this really thin braid. That way I could have it really moving with the wind, and it gave it a lot more energy and life to it. So once I did that, I was really happy with that hairstyle, and I can move on. And the other thing that I also ended up reworking a lot in this piece is the face, and that's really pretty common for when I'm sketching, is that the face ends up being the one thing that I usually work on the most, the face and the hands. And that's because those are the things that really, if they're wrong, they look very wrong. So I worked on that until I got it, something that I was really happy with, and I really liked the way that her face ended up looking. It had that personality that I wanted. So I'm excited about that it actually ended up looking like the kind of character that I wanted it to look like. And I loved doing the inking for this one in particular. I mean, I know that I always say that I love doing the line work for my pieces, but this one in particular, I was just really enjoying, because there's just a lot of different details and textures, and there was just a lot of different elements to her character that I was really enjoying inking, and that's just really fun for me when there's pieces that have a lot of details that I can get in there and get all really fine and detailed and do all these little things to it, and I love that. So I was excited about this one, where I could really focus on doing a nice character design where it had a lot of different elements to it, where it makes it really rich. Even though there really is not a lot going on in the actual illustration, the character itself has a lot of detail, so it's really pretty eye-catching, and I like that. So I was kind of noticing in this piece in particular that I have a way of sketching that I never really paid attention to, but there are certain areas where in my sketch I do not refine it very much at all, and there's some areas that I absolutely have to refine, or else when I'm inking it's just a whole lot more of a nightmare and a headache. And I never really noticed that before, that I was like actively leaving some parts very unrefined, and I'm starting to realize that at least there was intention behind that, where some of the areas are things that are a lot more textured, like her flower crown and this skirt area where it's really tattered. Those are things that I can really make up as I'm inking it. It's not really as much of a trouble, and I can make up those lines as I'm drawing it. But for different areas, like the face or the hand in this particular one, if it's not completely figured out in the sketch, then when I'm trying to do the inking, it takes so much longer, because I try to draw it and then it doesn't work right. So then I have to erase it, and then I have to try to draw it perfectly right that first time again. And it's a lot more of a headache. And I think that I kind of submit myself to that a lot more than I should be. And in this piece in particular, that hand, I did not have it very well refined, and I didn't have a very good reference for what it actually looked like. So when I came to inking it, it wasn't working. and there was no structure behind it, so I didn't know what it actually was supposed to look like or where the lines were supposed to be. So at that point I had to go back to the sketch, look up a reference, and then really refine it. And that way when I went back to the inking, it was super quick and it was just a lot better of a process. And I'm starting to realize that sometimes I am a little bit lazy when I'm sketching for things like that, where there's parts of the faces or just areas that I'm not really refining all the way, but I know I should be. So I think this is a good reminder to make sure that everything that needs to be refined in the sketch phase is before I move on. And it just saves me a lot more headache and time when I know that everything's already figured out. And I know that I can just start inking and everything's gonna work. And it's a lot more enjoyable that way. And that is pretty much it for the sketching and the inking of this piece. I'm pretty excited about Halloween and all the Halloween pieces that I'm gonna do. So there will be more in the future. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you can catch all the future art videos. And until then, I'll see you at my next one. Bye!